There has been so much misinformation regarding UFOs. In other words, UFOs, unidentified flying objects, or UAPs, as the military calls them, unidentified anomalous or aerial phenomena. There is so much misinformation out there, really misleading the public. I'm not saying it's intentionally misleading, but definitely sending the public off in the wrong direction. I think it's partly due to that the news commentators are the ones who are getting most of the information out there, and they just don't know what they're talking about. They call in experts who are physicists who also don't know what they're talking about in this regard. So I'm going to explore for about 2 minutes the background on how we know that these UFOs really are alien life. If there's no rational reason to think otherwise, given the enormous amount of evidence that we have now. Then I'm going to go into understanding or showing you how experts, quote unquote, giving you the wrong information, and also to give you an understanding why when Congress is now up in arms and news people are up in arms saying, hey, we own the military, we're the taxpayers, we're the public, we have a right to this information. Not necessarily. So here we go. So just to start off very quickly, my name is Rich Roberts. I'm a medical doctor. I'm also a doctor of biophysics. I was educated and then trained at the University of Pennsylvania and Harvard, respectively. And for 24 years, I was the president and chief executive officer of URL Pharma, a pharmaceutical company. Regarding my channel here, my YouTube channel, there is no place to donate. I do not have commercials on it. I don't know if there's commercials when you watch, but if so, that's YouTube doing it. Nothing to do with me. And there's no merchandise to buy. I'm here strictly for you. So let's get going. Believing in UFOs, having pictures of UFOs, all this UFO subculture, counterculture that's been involved over many, many decades, has maybe had some legitimate people in it, clearly had some fraudsters in it also, and also some nutty people, let's be honest. And to me, I always discounted it as a lot of nutty people. If there isn't any real information, we can't know it. In April of 2020, there were 3 videos that leaked out from the cockpits of fighter jets, United States fighter jets, hearing the fighter pilots and seeing their jets locking onto the targets. The United States military, the United States Navy, on its website said that those videos are real, they're authentic. There's the whole UFO stuff up until that point, and then there's from that point forward where the United States military on their website acknowledged that these videos are real. If you want to get all of that background, which I'm not going to go through now, evidence is overwhelming. First of all, on my channel, I have 3 videos on UFOs. If you just start at the second video at 11 minutes, I think it's 11 minutes and 20 seconds, watch through that, and then the third video, that's where I give you most of the evidence we have. The videos from the Pentagon showing these craft doing things that are a 1 or 2 orders of magnitude beyond what any human being could possibly do, seeing 2 presidents of the United States being absolutely unwilling to speak anything at all whatsoever about the topic when asked, seeing Lou Alexandro and Nick Pope, who were involved in the Pentagon and the British military programs, studying these things respectively until they resigned from those programs and went public. There's a movie producer named Jeremy Corbell who has really led the publicizing of this. There are now 60 Minutes did an episode on it with former Navy pilots who've come forward and said that these UFOs are being seen every day in their training missions, and there is an unbelievable mountain of additional evidence. Most recently, in the last couple months, there's a former United States intelligence official named David Grusch who's come forward. You can see his interviews and stories about him all through the press, but especially on News Nation, which first broke it. He said that the United States is in possession right now of over a dozen of these alien craft. He said that there are biological specimens recovered. We don't quite know what that is. There was a whole congressional hearing on this. Senator Marco Rubio says he's had multiple other people in the intelligence community, military intelligence community, confirm what David Grusch has said. Senator Chuck Schumer, he's writing into the law to the funding for the military to require this information to get exposed. But the evidence is really overwhelming that there is alien life. They are here. And now we're going to go into this in much more detail. So just to give you a little taste of what's happening like right now, here is a little video clip of John Kirby. He's a retired Rear Admiral of the United States Navy, and he's now the Director of Strategic Communications for the National Security Council. It means he works in the White House, for the White House, and he's the Communications Director for the group that leads the overall analysis of the intelligence that comes into the United States government, helping to form policy and reactions to all the events going on in the world. So here's a quick clip of John Kirby, who's going to tell you that these unidentified ships are out there and they're a concern for the United States Navy.
Is this a legitimate issue? Does the administration believe that getting to the bottom of these sightings in the air, is it a real concern? Is it a real legitimate issue as you see it?
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't have stood up an organization at the Pentagon to analyze and try to collect and coordinate the way these sightings are reported if we didn't take it seriously. Of course we do. I mean, some of these phenomena we know have already had an impact on our training ranges. For when pilots are out trying to do training in the air and they see these things, they're not sure what they are, and it can have an impact on their ability to perfect their skills. So it already had an impact here, and we just want to better understand it. Now, we're not saying what they are or what they're not. We're saying that there's something our pilots are seeing. We're saying it has had an effect on some of our training operations, and so we want to get to the bottom of it. We want to understand it better. So, yes.
So these alien ships are, what they're doing is they are performing at levels that the world has never seen before. Now, just briefly, and this is part of my old videos also, there are these objects out there. They're following United States military operations. They also seem to follow nuclear facilities. And then, by the way, it's not just the United States, they're all over the world. When you're standing here on the Earth, the amount of force you feel is 1 G of force. G is a gravitational acceleration constant. It doesn't matter. It's just 1 G of force is what we feel standing on Earth. If you go to the moon, you can bounce up and down a bit because there's less than 1 G of force. The moon is smaller, less gravity acting on people on the surface. When you go in a car and you hit the gas pedal or the electric pedal, if you have a Tesla or whatever, you feel yourself pulling back. That's force acting on you. That's a certain amount of force acting, pulling you back. The amount of force that a human body can withstand is about 8 to 9 Gs of force. There are records at higher Gs for a tiny bit of time, but for the most part, most people cannot withstand more than 8 to 9 Gs of force. Our fighter aircraft, which go extremely fast, up to about 2,000 to 2,500 miles per hour, when they go into turns, they get a lot of Gs of force on them. The maximum Gs of force that a fighter jet can withstand before the wings rip off is about 18 to 20 Gs of force. If you calculate the movement of these objects, they're pulling about 300 Gs of force. There's no question that these are not from this world.
Pilots are reporting UAP at altitudes that appear above them at 40,000 feet, potentially in low Earth orbit or in the gray zone below the Kármán line, making inexplainable maneuvers like right-hand turns and retrograde orbits or J-hooks. If everyone could see the sensor and video data I witnessed, our national conversation would change.
As a matter of fact, forget thinking about maybe Russia or China, because again, you'll go back to my old videos, or you can watch 1,000 videos online from very legitimate news sources documenting that at least as early as 1947, the United States military has had people in the military hierarchy reporting these objects being seen or being encountered with. In 1947, the Nazis developed the jet engine in the end of World War II, around 1945, to be passing the speed of sound, which is about 700 miles per hour, let alone going astronomically beyond that, is clearly been going on for about 75 years for what we know in our reporting, maybe long before that. There's no way this is human.
My office received a protected disclosure from Eglin Air Force Base indicating that there was a UAP incident that required my attention. I sought a briefing regarding that episode and brought with me Congressman Burchett and Congresswoman Luna. And we did see the image. And we did meet with one member of the flight crew who took the image. The image was of something that I am not able to attach to any human capability, either from the United States or from any of our adversaries, and I'm somewhat informed on the matter, having served on the Armed Services Committee for 7 years, having served on the committee that oversees DARPA and advanced technologies for several years.